Welcome to my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 7, The Hateful Darkness. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video there will be spoilers for, hypothetically everything MCU and adjacent leading up to and including the episode. Another episode that I absolutely loved. I'm gonna do some YouTube video recommendations before we get into the episode. So, Edgier Than Thou's Andre also hates fat people now. Jacob Geller's Why Does Everyone Think 1984 agrees with them. Harlan Spink's Open Carry Crumple Cookie Girl Boss. Folding Ideas Beast Games Too Strong/Smart, an exhaustive review. And some more news. Shut Up Tucker. All excellent. Well worth the time. So, I'm going to try to keep it chronological. So, I think the very first thing we saw was the, let's see, it was like Daredevil standing over the, the aftermath of the protest. And, I really appreciate the way they are, like, it is this thing of, like, how is he going to resolve this? In some ways it is, what Fisk is doing now is the worst he ever has. And I do think they do a good job throughout the episode of really underlining Fisk knows he's losing control. Like, this is completely, let's see, there's a couple of different phrases that fit well here. One is that an animal is, one of the most dangerous states of an animal is when it is wounded and cornered. Another is that, let's see, the following I've only heard a few times, but I believe it goes something along the lines of, a cult leader is never more dangerous than right before he becomes a martyr. And it's, once again, it's remarkable how well this fits on Trump. Fisk in so many ways in these 2 seasons of Born Again so far, so much like Trump. It's I guess when they wrote this, they already knew that it was going to be, because like Trump has been, it's been a while since he started, behaving in a self-destructive manner. There's a school of thought that says it's been about 7 decades. But let's see. I think the yes, we see Karen be processed. Really appreciate that. I'm not saying that I was hugely surprised, but still nice to see they imply the various humiliations that, like, I've never been arrested, but we know what they go through, and we do see they don't feel the need to show Deborah Ann Wall half naked or something. We just see, like, clearly she is having to take her clothes off, and there's the thing with her opening her mouth to be checked for, they show enough that it has an impact, but not so much that it ends up gratuitous. Really appreciate that. And I think the very next thing is Mr. Charles waking up and Jessica threatening him. And I really appreciate the confirmation. So, there had already been the theory. I forget if I mentioned it myself, but this thing of, she says I told them to fuck off. Not everyone did. And this episode it is confirmed. Luke is, and Charles even says, he's doing the Lord's work. And the thing about, like, if she kills Charles, then she'll, how will she ever contact Luke again? And God, that is, sadly, there are a number of people who've been manipulated in such a way, and it is frequently by more or less fascistic, dictatorial at least, regimes. And yeah, he points out, the thing about like you lost your powers, and she's like, you think I need them? That's yeah. She continues to be really, really badass. And I also appreciate, he says, oh, they were just supposed to tell you to back off. Hence the guns, I guess. Weird way to communicate. See, this is what I mean. Okay, so this is obviously a joke, just to make it absolutely clear. But in these videos, I sometimes talk about how women are better at communicating than men, and I'm not talking about like gender essentialism. I mean through socialization, But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this underlines that pretty well. Not sure why they feel the need to bring like, do they know phones exist? I guess is my question here. Now the let's see. Yeah, I think that's when we have the no, yeah, that's when Fisk goes to see Karen. I will admit, as soon as I realized he was headed for her cell, I thought that's where we would get that trailer clip of, is that all you got? But we did get it later in the episode with Heather. But that's also really appreciate that they didn't feel the need to have this, really upsetting image of a man choking a woman, and with the sound work we also hear like he's, doing damage there. Like that's, yeah, we don't need to see that for very long. We get the point, and then they just move on. But yeah, she is such a fucking badass in this episode. Like, I don't know if is there some chance that like just Karen Page herself broke the fourth wall, wrote this episode? She did a great job, or at least her scenes, because like, yeah, I'm joking. That sounds like a criticism. It is not. I fucking love seeing, because this is, I mean, she was tough from quite early in the Defenders verse, but by now, like, yeah, yeah. And the thing with the, yeah, she says, I've never seen you afraid before. I like it. Holy fucking shit. I don't think Foggy is gonna show up and stop him this time. But yeah, and also appreciate, she calls it fear, he calls it order. I mean, that's a really, really good short way to describe fascism. And the let's see, yeah, the fact that he really does not actually, he stops killing her, and we have the trial instead, and I believe that's when in the episode we get the rooftop meeting. I think that she no longer does have a drinking problem. Certainly it hasn't been, there hasn't really been anything with it in these two episodes so far, but and certainly, yeah, she seems like a responsible parent. You shouldn't get like drunk if you are, she says she's all Danielle has. So in that case, you shouldn't get like very drunk at least, but so yeah, seeing Jessica with the rocking the shades, but then, I mean, they're on top of a roof, also known as a rooftop, and the sun is out. No one's guns are out, though. Maybe it's also part of like an incognito thing, although, I mean, I feel like that is just her. Well, no, yeah, I guess it's not like a permanent part of her costume. More the black leather jacket and the blue jeans and the boots are. But yeah, and yeah, her meeting Cherry was good. She's really become a much more social person since making it onto the show, I guess. That is not how she normally meets new people. But it is nice to see, and like I said in my video on the episode before this one, like, she deserves to be happy. She's gone through so much, and I don't know. I think there's enough. I've seen some people say they don't love the way the character's being treated, and I do respect that. I definitely think Jesse Gender had some good points that I am not going to argue with. As usual, if you haven't watched Jesse Gender, and I can never remember if it's Break Room of Geeks or Council of Geeks, but one of those two, one of Vera Wild's channels, they've done videos on at least some of these episodes. If they've done on this episode that I haven't watched now, those yet, but I can recommend the ones they've made for the first 6 episodes. But the, let's see, I don't know, so far I think there's enough of Jessica's core intact that it does not bother me. Now, I think that does pretty well cover the, I wonder if now that Karen has been arrested, she's not going to be wearing any more wigs. Nando, the movies, continues to really not be fond of those. And I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong. I think that does pretty much... all I'm saying is, if Trish wasn't in the raft, she knows someone who makes much better wigs than that, Karen. And the, let's see. To be clear, I'm not actually expecting to see Trish anytime soon. Would be cool. I think there's stuff they could do. I'd like to see how she has, she was emotionally devastated last we saw her, and like, is there some chance that maybe she has, I don't know. I just, yeah, she's such a great character. Anyway, I think that does... Yeah, the, let's see. Yeah, the conversation about, and I think, isn't that where, am I remembering right, that at least one of the two tell Matt that he might have to take out Fisk permanently. And let's see, yeah, Jessica insists that she's done, she's leaving, and that is clearly her at the end of the episode. So evidently she didn't completely, yeah. And I think that's what, yeah, the thing about, like, do we have a man in the 15th? And, we finally got, yeah, it's great to see Brett Mahone again. Just, yeah. I remember, like, back when season 1 of this show premiered, immediately people were like, why is Cherry not Brett Mahoney? And, yeah, great to see him back. I mean, I wouldn't hate if they had just one bit where he talks about missing Foggy or something, because they did have a compelling relationship. The thing about the cigars that, for his mom, and then mom helped out with like a sort of safe house situation in season 3. So just, yeah. Anyway, the I think the very next thing might be Daredevil setting loose Bullseye, and I love that we didn't find out until near the end of the episode what the promise was. And yeah, these little things, right. I also want to acknowledge, I think that was also Nando pointed out, Bethel, who plays Bullseye, is one of those actors where, like, you could both see him play like Captain America, but he also nails Bullseye. And as Nando points out, could Chris Evans do as good of a job at Bullseye? Like, he's the fun asshole when he plays asshole characters, for sure. Like, my God. But it is, I need to watch some of the more recent ones where he plays an asshole. I think, God damn, I don't actually think I've seen him play an asshole since he last played Johnny Storm, I guess. But yeah, his Johnny Storm, and I do not remember the character's name, but his character in Not Another Teen Movie. My opinion, best part of that movie. That movie was not amazing, though I appreciate certain aspects about it. Now, I think, I'm afraid I forget what YouTuber pointed out, but the jokes about like how there's only ever one black guy in those teen movies, and they bring in the actor who normally plays that guy and has him have to leave because, oh, there's already another black guy at this party. Like, just, yeah, that's genuinely very funny, very, very nicely done on that. I think that does bring us to, and obviously I appreciate the cameos. How could I not? Anyway, yeah, the let's see. Yeah, so the thing, yeah, I was I done with the scene I was talking about? Maybe I was. Um so the other right, Bullseye. Yeah. The thing about, like, if I ask you to, I'm what was it? You know, I'm not going to ask you to promise. I might not be able to keep it anyway. Who knows if I would keep it? I wouldn't trust you. It's just these little things, just fantastic. And yeah, if you really want to do one good deed, here it is. And yeah, it's to protect the the governor. And I did, they did a great job. I love that shot where it's like we really get the sense that someone is coming for her or listening to her or something. And I think that's when we get the actual, yeah. So Matt and Karen are able to talk just briefly, a minute or so. And yeah, the thing with, there's going to be a lot of cameras. He wants it public. Let's make something public. And the thing about, like, well, I will say, I thought that meant that he was going to, like, reveal that he's Daredevil on camera, but maybe it was just that maybe it was what ends up happening, that he's going to show up as the attorney. And yeah, really great scene of the trial. Oh, right. Also the Fisk talking to first the DA and then Heather was also great. And the way that the lawyer's like, I mean, I don't think that's a good idea. We don't have enough time. Okay, sure, I'll do that. Yeah, that's definitely based on a Trump story right there. Holy shit. And now I really want there to be an outtake of, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering his name for some reason, and my wrist are too fucking sore to check right now. But the DA, going like, all the networks. That was a terrible Rudy impression. Sorry. And yeah, but the trial itself, very nicely done. And the thing with, I'd like to call in a co-counsel, and he's there. And it is this thing of, like, I mean, the fuck are you gonna do in front of all those cameras, AVTF? Fisk called him a hero, remember? The last thing people heard about him was that he took a bullet to save the fucking mayor's life. Like, are you actually, and they do have to wait until they can attack in secret, And yeah, oh my god. If they made a spin-off that's just like nothing but Matt and Powell verbally squaring off, I would watch the shit out of that. It's just so fucking good. And the thing about, like, why were we there? Wellness check? Need guns for a wellness check? And let's see. Yeah, also the yeah, the part where Kirsten straight up said, what is a vigilante? Is it what happens when justice is not carried out? Yeah, I mean, I think many of you will agree with me that the writers' room sat down and worked out that line by starting with rephrasing a riot is the language of the oppressed. And let's see, I think that does... Yeah, and the thing about, like, oh, you're not playing to a jury here, aren't I? And the cameras, yeah. Right, and the thing with the it also, I mean, first thing I thought of was the way that mainstream media covered Luigi Mangione. And to be clear, I'm not making excuses for what he is alleged to have done. I don't think violence should ever be anything other than an absolute last resort, especially lethal violence, But as others on the far left have noted, it is interesting how, first they were, making a really big deal out of it, and then as they saw that people were, a lot of people were in favor of, or at least, sympathized more with him than the CEO. Yeah, they got very quiet all of a sudden. They didn't cover quite as much. Yeah, interesting that. And let's see, I think that is... I mean, they don't call it manufactured consent for nothing. Anyway, I think that does pretty well cover... Right, also the thing with, like, what else did Powell tell you to do was also fantastic line. And the thing with, yeah, the DA got the got the judge to what was it, like, sustain the objection, I think is the term. That was also, yeah, that definitely was a very theatrical line. That is true. But yeah, the part with, they're not leaving, are they? God damn it. Can somebody please go tell them what, I think it was Benjamin Franklin said about house guests and fish. But the yeah, that was very cool. The whole thing with although I'm a tiny bit worried, does this mean we're not going to get too much Daredevil action in the next? Although I guess maybe this means that is Jessica and maybe someone else also going to have to pick up Matt's slack as he, not his slacks, as he heals. I mean, I do appreciate he heals fast, but like a bullet to the leg, I feel like that's going to be... Although, I mean, in the first season of the Netflix one, he recovered from, being left for dead and was able to carry out the long take at the end of that episode. But yeah, anyway, I think that does bring us... Oh, right, I completely forgot to mention. Yeah, so Fisk does confront Heather about the jewelry, and you have the thing about self-control discussed, and let's see. I guess that does pretty much... I think this is around the place in the episode where Heather talks to Karen, and that was also fantastic. I fucking love the way they both mind game each other, and it really is a chess match. Like, it goes back and forth. I was not sure who... At no point in the entire scene was I confident who was going to win this, and yeah, like, there at the end, I mean, Karen definitely kind of got to Heather. Heather also somewhat got to Karen, but Heather leaves having accomplished nothing. They're in a rush, how long is she gonna have to... how many sessions is it gonna take before she gets anything useful out of it? I mean, I suppose it's possible she's just gonna lie. I would like to see another scene between them. I really loved it. But yeah, the fact that Karen is just like, I know exactly what test you're administering. I know how to game it. Everyone does. Can we just stop with the kids' table shit here? And, Heather's like, what did you have in mind? Because if she there had been like, you are going to respect my authority, that's showing weakness, but she's like daring Karen. She's like, okay, you know one thing. How much do you know? Can you keep up with, or am I going to have to explain everything to you? And yeah, all the little things, them talking about Matt and the way that there is this interesting tension between them because both of them, let's see, um, Heather was with Matt and Karen is, well, if she was until she was imprisoned at least, and hopefully she'll get back out and will be again. But yeah, talking about it and this kind of thing of like, yeah, the let's see, and yeah, the thing with professionals call that transference, and the thing about like why are you working for Fisk? This is wrong, and Heather throws in her face about her brother and Wesley, and oh my god, so fucking disgusting when she brings, when she or not just implies, she straight up asks, did Kevin, your brother, I don't even want to say it out loud. It's just so fucking disgusting. And, yeah, unfortunately, there are indeed some mental health professionals who will do shit like this. Obviously, if someone accuses, then it should be taken seriously. Honestly, I was very reminded of, I'm afraid I forget what YouTuber it was, but there was recent... What? Wait, I think it's coming to me. Shit. I think I almost have it. Okay, it was Zara Zed. Don't know why I pronounced her first name like that, started with a Z as well. Video about the rise and fall of the Misery Memoir, I think it was called, something along those lines, where she pointed out, these leading questions to try to get, accusations of sexual, and she pointed out about how there was a discrepancy between how the case went if they had, if people were allowed to listen to the recordings versus when not, and the impact that had. Yeah, if you have the time, it's a really fantastic video. And yeah, this really reminded me of that. And obviously, I'm not saying that this, when this episode was written, that YouTube video had not come out, so it's not. But I do think they are going off the some of the historical, because Sarah is talking about historical. Sarah Zed is talking. Shouldn't just use her first name, should I? Because it's not like I know her or something, just for content. Anyway, I think that does... Yeah, and interesting that Frank is the breaking point. And, Heather's like, does Matt know? Just... Yeah, really, they're great at needling each other. And yeah, Karen manages to provoke Heather, who physically assaults her. And again, on the surface, that might seem like, oh, this is bad for Karen. She got this very, I mean, Heather's already on edge, and now she is assaulting people. Like, this is the kind of thing that could end up, so far, the people we've seen her assault, she's been able to get away with. As long as Fisk is mayor, she can probably get away with hitting inmates, especially someone like Karen. That was also, it was really compelling having Fisk, within, that close to Karen after he's, found out that she killed Wesley. But the, yeah, let's see, and with Buck, that also, but what if she, like, in public assaults someone that she's not going to get away with? What if that's, like, filmed? That could discredit her, because her expert opinion was a major piece of, that was very, very useful against swordsmen. So that could be, yeah. also really appreciate that they didn't feel the need to have, the hallucination flashback in this episode. But yeah, definitely. And yeah, seeing Karen, after all that physical assault, Karen's just like, is that all you got? You don't scare me. I'm handcuffed. You're slapping me. I can't hit back. So what? This I don't even, this does nothing to just, it's just such a fucking badass. God, I'm so glad she's back. It's yeah. Remember how little she was in, how little she appeared in season 1 of this show? Like, that genuinely was so fucking, like, what were they thinking? Yeah. I just realized I have not really talked about, so obviously the whole BB and Daniel thing was also great. Yeah, like, Daniel genuinely does care about BB. I was getting more and more ready to accept that, and by the end of this episode, I was like, okay, yeah, for sure. But yeah, the way that he's torn between the two, and he claims he's going to text someone to help with a safe house, and he's texting Buck. And yeah, ultimately he does refuse, and he lets her go and says, go somewhere is safe. Don't tell me where you're going to go, And, he goes up there, and Buck asks, and Daniel refuses, even tells him, fuck a duck, Buck. And yeah, Buck ends up killing him after trying to beat the truth out of him. And I really love Daniel pointing out, you're next. Like, you really think that you're protected from him? And I think that does pretty well cover the yeah, the thing about, like, if you had a problem with it, why didn't you say something? I didn't hear you complain. Well, I guess you haven't been watching. I'm afraid I forget what it's called, but the Mayor Kingpin stuff, because that was complaining. And the let's see, I think that, yeah, it was very compelling seeing AVTF versus it was interesting. I honestly thought that Matt was gonna do Daredevil more there, but he does, he throws, he, yeah, through the window, and that's it. Other than that, um, yeah, this episode did not have a lot of outright action, but the tension and character exploration, I felt, more than made up for it. Now, I think that does pretty much, I guess, I don't know, if you count, chokings and beatings and such, physical assault and the like, as action, then that's, and I'm glad we had, once again, don't love seeing one attacked, but they were, you know, it is important for the characters. Like, yeah, Heather really is struggling. Like, she didn't even get, she got nothing out of Karen at all. This is the first time, as much as she, like, she actually, let's see, she disassociated when she was talking to Swordsman. She still managed to get something, I mean, she didn't get as much as she hoped that wasn't lies out of him, but she managed to finish the interview. She didn't even do that with Karen. She turned off the recorder very, very soon and left after just a few minutes. Yeah. Anyway, there is definitely at least one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to say. So that ending, yeah, obviously, that's Jessica Jones walking in as Matt is sitting there in church reciting Beatles lyrics, or praying to, but Jude. I don't know. That's probably a stretch. And I just want you to know, I do try to think about what will be the less painful of my dad jokes. I did consider, like, doing a spoken word of some of the lyrics in place of the the prayer, and yeah, just want you to know, sometimes I do cut some of the shittier of my jokes. Anyway, I think that does. But yeah, that's clearly Jessica. So I hope they didn't cut the. I mean, it might just be in the next episode because, like, I gotta say, the thing she says in the trailer that's clearly from that location and situation, one of my favorite parts of the trailers. So I do hope that it appears just in the next, or whenever next. I don't know. It's possible the next episode is like a flashback one. They certainly did like doing those in the Netflix Defenders verse, but yeah, yeah. So we are 3/4 of the way through the season, and yeah, like I believe there's 2 episodes left. That really does, yeah. I can absolutely see how they can manage to finish it off in a really satisfying manner, and yeah, it was really really tense when the governor was attacked, and I really appreciate, again, they spent just long enough, not so long that it ended up feeling like, oh, this is just like, you know this is kind of gross, but enough that we were like, I was genuinely thinking, I guess this is it, she's gonna die, and no one is gonna, because they make sure to spell that out early in the episode, the what's the word, the fact that no one else is going to revoke Red Hook. But yeah, we suddenly hear the sounds of the blades, and yeah, Bullseye saved her and walks off, and we see the cops arrive, so she is safe. And I mean, maybe she's going to get more security now. She has the authority to be able to get more security. Obviously, a lot of people are not going to get it when Fisk is the one going after them, but yeah, I think that might just about cover. Yeah, really looking forward to more. Can hardly wait to see what they do next. It's a very interesting new dynamic. I wasn't sure what they were going to do with Karen arrested, but yeah, this very public trial, and Matt goes there, and the whole, yeah, that was a really deeply compelling, and it is also like, yeah, I guess that's the first time this entire season we've seen him a lawyer, isn't it? Because he's been a fugitive all this time, which I do also think I've liked seeing that, but it is really great to see. Yeah, yeah, and the part where Fisk is like, do you think Miss Page knows that she's the wounded soldier calling out for help? Now, I believe that is what I had. I'm just going to real quick mentally fast forward through the entire episode. I appreciate the part where, and Daniel points out to BB, it's not just about, like all the people that could be, that are going to be attacked if not. I am genuinely kind of worried about Daniel's mom now. Let's see. I guess that does pretty much. Yeah, that is it. So, yeah. And also, my God, the part where, Daniel reveals to BB, and also, like, as soon as he says that, we know, oh, he really is taking her to die. Because he even says, I can't have anyone else know that. Did I already mention I'm really going to miss him? Maybe I should find something else that the actor performs in, because like he really does such a fucking amazing job. Quite fond of so I can never remember, I believe that was his father, wasn't it, in I still need to watch Sopranos. I've heard so many amazing things over the years, but isn't that him in True Romance, for example? So yeah, really, really big fan of what I've seen of his as well, the elder Gandolfini. But yeah, the part where he talks to BB, and says, Buck had me help bury a dead body, and BB's like, Jesus, and I'm like, I don't think it was the Son of God, no.